I should have known the pay was too good to be true. When a night security job offers triple the normal rate for an empty building, that's not luck. That's a warning, but I was too blinded by the money to see it. Too tired of being broke. Too tired of struggling. Too desperate to walk away. They told me the hospital had been closed for months. No patients, no staff, no activity, just me. What they didn't tell me was that the hospital still watching. They said my job was simple. Walk the halls. Check the doors. Report anything unusual. They never explained what unusual meant. And they never explained why every guard before me had quit the same night. I found that part out later. After I heard the crying, after I saw something that had my face, after I realized the rules weren't there to protect the building, they were there to protect me. They gave me 3 rules. I broke one of them. Someone else broke all 3. He never walked out of that hospital again. And the only reason I'm telling you this, it's because the security footage proves I wasn't supposed to survive. So before I tell you what happened inside that hospital, before I tell you what was waiting in room 214, and before I tell you what followed me home, take a second to subscribe, turn on notifications, and like this video, because some stories don't just want to be heard, they want to be remembered. I was 21, broke, and tired of living paycheck to paycheck. The job listing seemed perfect: night security, no experience, cash weekly, triple what I made at my part-time job, easy work, quiet building, no one bothers me. And at the time, I didn't think twice. I didn't see the red flags. The hospital looked abandoned, even from the outside. Windows dark, doors locked. But there was a sign of life, a small security office near the main entrance, with a man sitting behind a desk. He didn't smile when I walked in. His eyes darted nervously across the room as he handed me the clipboard with the rules. He didn't say much, just enough. Read them. Follow them. Don't break them. That's all you need to know. I nodded, trying not to notice how tense he looked, how his hands trembled slightly when he pointed to room 214. I laughed off the unease, telling myself it was just first-night nerves. I was desperate. I needed the money, and nothing about this abandoned hospital could scare me, or so I thought. As I walked through the main doors and into the hallway, the smell hit me first. Stale disinfectant mixed with something else. Something I couldn't quite place. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch down the hallway, reaching toward me. And somewhere in the distance, I thought I heard a soft creak. I paused. Nothing. I told myself it was just the building settling. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I stopped just outside the main hallway, clipboard in hand. The supervisor's voice broke the silence, low and hurried. Read these. Memorize them. And whatever you do, don't break them. I glanced at the first rule. It was simple enough. Rule 1, never enter room 214. I laughed nervously. Room 214. What's so dangerous about a room? The supervisor didn't smile. He leaned closer and said something that made my stomach turn cold. Every guard before you, they all quit the same night. I blinked. Quit? Why? He shook his head, almost like he was trying to forget it himself. No one ever explains it. They just leave. Or don't come back at all. My fingers tightened around the clipboard. I tried to push the thought away, but the hallway suddenly felt narrower, darker. Then I read the second rule. Rule 2. If you hear crying, leave the floor immediately. My heart skipped. Crying? In an empty hospital? I smiled to myself, trying to make it sound casual. Probably a recording, right? The supervisor's glare froze me. Not a recording, he said. If you hear it, leave. Don't investigate, just go. And don't ask questions. I nodded, swallowing hard. Then came the third rule. Rule 3. If you see someone who looks like you, run. I laughed out loud. What, like a mirror? He didn't laugh. His voice dropped to a whisper. No mirrors, no reflections. And don't think you're safe just because the hallway is empty. It doesn't care. I tried to shake it off. I tried to convince myself it was just a creepy way to scare new guards, but my gut twisted as I glanced at the shadowed hallways. Something felt alive in the darkness. Something was waiting. And the rules weren't just instructions, they were warnings. I stepped onto the floor, flashlight in hand, the beam cutting through the darkness. The silence hit me first. Absolute silence. Not the kind of quiet that's peaceful, but the kind that presses on your chest and makes your ears ache. I walked slowly, trying to let my eyes adjust. Every step echoed, not loud, just enough that it felt too loud for an empty hospital. Wheelchairs lined the walls, some tipped slightly to one side, as if someone had left in a hurry. Dust floated in the beam of my flashlight, catching the light like tiny suspended stars. The elevator at the end of the hall flickered, its single light stuttering like it was breathing. I thought about calling the supervisor, then remembered the rules. Don't break the rules. Don't leave the floor. Don't see anyone who looks like you. I forced myself to keep moving. Old patient notes hung on the walls, yellowed and curled at the edges. Some were taped crookedly, some pinned with rusted tacks. Names, dates, medications, notes that didn't belong to anyone alive anymore. I leaned closer to read one. Patient missing. Room 214. Keep quiet. My heart skipped. Room 214 again. I shook my head. Just an old note, I muttered. Nothing to worry about. But as I continued down the hallway, I noticed the scratches on the door to room 214. Tiny, almost imperceptible, but enough to look deliberate. Someone or something had been here before me. My pulse spiked. My hand tightened on the flashlight. I stepped back, trying to convince myself it was just maintenance, an old janitor, maybe even a former guard. But deep down, I knew this place wasn't empty, not even close, and it was already watching me. That is when the crying started, softly, almost a whisper at first. I froze mid-step, the flashlight trembling slightly in my hand. My mind raced. Is this a recording? A kid? A joke? But the sound didn't seem mechanical. It didn't loop. It followed me. Each step I took, it shifted, always just out of reach. My heart was pounding, my palms slick on the flashlight. I remembered the second rule. If you hear crying, leave the floor. I should have turned back. I should have walked away immediately. But something deep inside me wouldn't let me. Curiosity, maybe, or stubborn pride. I kept moving, and the crying grew louder, closer. A small, desperate sound, echoing down the empty hallways. Then, suddenly, it stopped. I froze. My stomach lurched. The silence was worse than the sound. I stood still, barely breathing, and waited. Nothing. Just the flicker of my flashlight on the walls. Then it began again. But this time, it was coming from the floor above me. Or was it below me? I couldn't tell. The building felt endless. Shadows stretched and twisted in the light. I could swear the walls were moving, like the hospital was watching me, breathing with me. My instincts screamed at me to leave, to run, but I didn't. I had to know what was making that sound. The crying shifted again. It wasn't just nearby. It was following me, matching my pace, pausing when I paused, moving when I moved. And then, in a horrifying instant, I realized the moment I stood still, it stopped, completely, as if it were waiting for me to make the wrong move. My stomach sank. I wasn't in control anymore. Something else was deciding when I would hear the sound, when I would move, when I would be noticed. And the rules weren't just instructions, they were survival tools. I had already broken the first one by stepping too close, out of curiosity. I didn't know it yet, but the hospital had already begun its game. I thought I was alone. My flashlight trembled slightly as I swept it across the hallway walls. Shadows stretched unnaturally, twisting in corners that shouldn't exist. That's when I noticed the reflection. Not in a window, not in a mirror. Something else. A shimmer on the wall, subtle at first, like a trick of the light. I stopped, holding my breath. My own reflection, or what looked like it, was behind me. Except I wasn't moving. My hand raised, flashlight quivering, and the figure behind me raised its hand too. Only a moment later, a full heartbeat too late. It lagged behind my motion, like a delayed echo, mimicking me imperfectly. My chest tightened. Panic began to seep into my mind. I told myself it was stress, exhaustion, or imagination. But the timing, the lag, it was deliberate. I turned slowly, the flashlight cutting the darkness. Nothing. Nothing but long hallways, tipped wheelchairs, and the faint hum of the building's fluorescent lights. I exhaled, relief washing over me, and then froze. The reflection didn't vanish. It lingered, still delayed, still mimicking me, but now with a smile I hadn't worn. My mind screamed at me. Rule 3. If you see someone who looks like you, run. Hadn't I yet broken that rule? Or had I? And then I realized in that frozen instant that the hospital wasn't just empty. It was learning, watching, waiting, and whatever was mimicking me, it would get closer if I didn't move. I needed answers. My hands shook as I ducked into the small security office near the entrance. The monitors flickered to life, screens showing endless empty hallways. Or so I thought. I rewound the footage from earlier that night. That's when I saw it. Me, walking past the cameras down the hallway. Only, I hadn't walked there yet. Not until now. My stomach dropped. I froze, eyes darting across the monitors. There I was, moving slowly, flashlight in hand, my every step perfectly mirrored. But on the footage, it was hours ago. I wasn't sure if it was a recording glitch or something else. Then I saw another angle, another camera, and there was a second me, walking, same timing, same hesitation, same motion, 2 versions, 1 building, 1 person. My mind spun. I couldn't explain it. But I knew one thing for certain, this wasn't a glitch. This was happening, and it was only going to get worse. Heart hammering, I approached room 214. My fingers shook as I reached for the handle. The rule screamed in my mind, never enter room 214. I told myself it was just curiosity, just one peek. And then the door creaked open. Inside, the air was thick, metallic, almost alive. Rows of old guard uniforms hung on hooks, dusty and stiff. Broken walkie-talkies littered the floor, wires protruding like veins. Blood streaked the walls, dried into strange patterns, forming jagged shapes I couldn't fully comprehend. Names were scratched into the wall, hundreds of them, some long faded, some fresh. And then I saw it, my own name, written in jagged letters, deep and deliberate, as if someone or something had been waiting for me. The floor creaked behind me. I spun around. Nothing, but the sense of being watched pressed in, heavy and suffocating. I realized then that breaking the rule wasn't just a mistake. It was an invitation, and whatever had written my name was still here. I didn't know how much longer I could stand there, because the crying came again, louder this time, closer. I spun around, flashlight shaking in my hands, and there it was, me, standing there just beyond the shadows. Same height, same build, same uniform, same trembling grip on a flashlight I didn't remember leaving behind. Only difference, I was crying, soft, desperate sobs that ripped through my chest. My own voice echoed back at me, twisted, pleading. Go, leave, get out. It whispered, barely audible, but unmistakably me. My stomach sank. I wanted to step closer, to understand, to touch it. But my instinct screamed, run. The copy raised its hands, shaking violently. Please, it begged. Leave, don't stay. It's watching, it's waiting. I didn't hesitate. I turned on my heel and ran, adrenaline surging, fear burning every nerve. My footsteps pounded on the dusty floors, echoing down endless hallways. The elevator at the end of the hall flickered, its single light blinking like it was alive. I reached it, slammed the button, and waited, heart hammering in my ears. Floor numbers flickered, then skipped, then stopped. The doors creaked open slowly. I ran inside, barely breathing, the metal cage of the elevator rattling with every movement. The doors started to close, and I caught it. The copy, standing in the hallway just outside, face pale, eyes wet with tears, and smiling. That smile wasn't a relief. It was satisfying. The doors closed just in time. My chest heaved. My hands shook. But in the back of my mind, I knew the copy wasn't gone, and I didn't know if I had truly escaped. I quit the next morning. I left my flashlight, my clipboard, and everything I had been given that night on the security desk. I thought I was done. I thought I had escaped. But a nagging feeling followed me home, pressing in every time I closed my eyes. Days later, curiosity, or maybe fear, got the better of me. I checked the hospital records, and that's when I realized something truly terrifying. No guard ever officially leaves. The files showed my employment was still active, and, according to the logs, a new guard will start tomorrow. I sat back, heart racing, staring at the screen. I had walked out of that building physically, but the hospital didn't let me go, and whatever had mirrored me was still waiting. I couldn't stop myself. I had to check the footage one last time, and there I was, walking the hallways of the abandoned hospital, hour after hour, motionless yet moving. My face calm, my eyes aware, and then I noticed it. I was looking directly into the camera, smiling, and in that moment I understood. Leaving didn't mean escaping. The hospital had claimed something that wasn't just me. If you had seen yourself standing there, would you have run, or would you have gone back? Leave a comment. Hit that like button if you're brave enough. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Because some stories don't just want to be heard, they want to be remembered.